Hey, you. Yes, you with the moist grass on your bare legs. This is a new year and a new podcast. I'm asking you to join me in some changes made just for you. I want listeners to join the new Facebook group for Aussie Lawn Stars. If you're not listening to this, just skip the first 30 seconds. But for everyone who wants to listen and would like to contribute, join Aussie Lawn Stars Facebook group so you can give me feedback on existing episodes and content ideas for more episodes. But more importantly, it's a place you can ask questions. The simple questions may get answered by members in the group already, much like you would find in any community group. But the questions will fuel and feed future episodes. More importantly, if you ask a question in the group or on the YouTube comments section, you may get sucked into the dungeon where your question and you become a feature episode. In short, join Aussie Lawn Stars on Facebook, YouTube and Instagram to participate and engage with me directly and other listeners who want to help or be helped. So, welcome to the dungeon, Anthony. How are you doing?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm feeling like I'm in a dungeon today. I know it looks bright and colourful, but this room has no external airflow, no windows, nothing out to the external world, and it's rather warm and humid in here today.
Would be out your way.
All I need is some chains in the dungeon, and I'd be feeling it real bad. But anyway, the reason for getting you in today is because I've seen your name pop up in the Newcastle Lawn Mowing Contractors group. And I thought I'd reach out to you about hearing protection because I think you're listed there as Hunter Hearing Protection, or are you under your personal name?
Yeah, Hunter Hearing Protection, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've been lawn mowing and gardening for almost 15 years. And in that time, I have been very mindful of my own hearing and I've done what I can to try and care for it. But that has meant using a range of different devices. I've used over-ear muffs, which are just basic hearing protection, no Bluetooth audio like everyone wants nowadays. And I've gone to over-ear muffs that have a wire that goes behind your head, so I could wear a wide brim hat over the top of them, and that didn't work well, especially with glasses on at the same time. And then I've gone to the in-ear plugs like your foam tips and your silicon tips, all those various different things. And eventually I started playing with Bluetooth earbuds as a way of listening to audio, music, podcasts, whatever I could fill my ears with. But in that journey, I've had a whole range of different things that have gone from great hearing protection to next to useless. So I think one of the ones that actually surprised me was the earlier Beats product that had a in-ear bud, but they were connected by a wire. And I actually found they gave surprising hearing protection in spite of no claims of hearing protection. And most earbuds that don't claim hearing protection, if they have a silicon tip or a foam tip, they will isolate a little bit of noise, but not enough to actually claim a rated decibel reduction.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so I've looked at that and I've played with the like actual hearing protection that has like your foam insert or your silicon insert that goes into your ear and offers an industrial hearing protection option. I've always found silicon tree style provides me with better results than the foam ones, even though most foam ones claim to give better results.
What I've found with the foam is that it's got little air pockets in it and it wants to expand all the time. So the
Yeah.
sound is going to get through them, whereas the silicon is more of a solid and like a tissue to tissue
Yes.
mold and it fits your ear, whereas the other is not necessarily going to fit your ear. It just sits there and can work its way out.
Yeah, so because it's trying to expand, it can also end up moving around a fair bit. Yeah, I think that's a fairly good explanation of what I've experienced, certainly with the foam ones. So because I think they're like a memory foam or something to that effect, aren't they?
Yeah, and as you compress it, it just wants to keep
Expanding.
going back to its original shape. So the further you push it in, the more pressure it's putting to expand as well.
Yeah, okay. So I'm sure they work for a lot of people, but maybe my ear shape is just one of those things which I've never had good success with them.
Everyone's ears are different. Some people just can't use them at all.
Yeah.
Some people's ear canals are big enough that they just fall out, and some just can't fit them in.
Yeah. Now, I've found with a number of Bluetooth earbuds, if they have a silicon tip on them, a lot of them only have like a single mushroom style tip. Some of them have like 2 or 3 tiers where they then call it a silicon tree. But the narrower the tree, the easier it is to get inside my ear canal and actually provide a decent seal and then reasonable hearing protection. So that, I guess, again, mixed results with different types and different people. But I've found the really narrow ones, they fit in my ear canal better and I can get a reasonable seal most of the time. But even so, the design of them is trying to fit everyone's ear, which means it's not going to fit any ears really well, is it?
No, they're a generic, basically fit. So that's why not everyone can wear them. So
Yeah,
they just got to mass produce them, and it's one size fits all.
yeah. And I think there's probably 2 or 3 earbuds I've come across that actually say they offer industrial hearing protection. And often they will come with 2 or 3 different sizes, small, medium, large. Whether it's foam inserts or silicon trees, usually have at least 2 different sizes. And again, I've found whilst they usually are adequate for running the sort of machinery I run, never quite as good as you'd hope. And
It's
if I'm
because they
using,
don't have, from my perspective, it's not the full tissue to tissue coverage of your ear. So there's still air gaps where sound
yeah,
is getting through.
yeah, for sure. I've found if I'm using handheld equipment, usually that's not a problem. So a whippersnipper or a hedge trimmer, um, usually it's adequate for that. Although if we're talking the motor running right beside your head at times with some of those tools, then like particularly a hedge trimmer, you're moving it around, it can end up quite close to your head with the engine noise. Then sometimes you go, oh, that's a bit too noisy. But chainsaws, lawnmowers, and wood chippers are the ones which I use, which tend to be quite noisy. And there's not a lot of things I've found that offer decent hearing protection on those devices.
No, no. That's why I do molded hearing protection, because I personally feel that they give a better, well, they've got a decent rate. They've got a class 5 rating. So they're
Yeah.
industry rated.
Yeah. So I think the that's an is that an Australian rating, the Class 5 industry rating?
It's got an SLC 80, which means 80% of the population will get a minimum of 28 decibel reduction. And that's a class 5 in Australia.
Okay. So I'm sure I've come across some things which talk about a 15 decibel or an 18 decibel rating. Is there different classes that go the different decibel reductions? Is that what we're talking?
As the decibel reduction increases, they go up in rating. So they start with a 1 and go through to a 5, and 5 is the top rating.
Yeah. So what do you say there's 5 is 28 decibel?
Yeah, 28 and above.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So that's what you referred to there is the molds that are made specifically to fit an individual's ear. I think I've seen a number of over ear muffs that claim a classification level 5.
There are some out there. Um, but then you come down to whether they're comfortable, whether when you sweat, they're going to break the seal, um, whether you can wear them long term.
Yes, and For outdoor use, that is one of the issues I've come across. Is the over ear muffs often prevent you from using other safety devices if they are comfortable on their own, might be one thing, but most of the time I'm wearing glasses, whether it's for the prescription purpose or whether it's for eye protection from flying debris when I'm mowing, whip snipping, chainsawing, all those things. And if you've got glasses under muffs, then you're reducing the effectiveness of the muffs, but you're also creating a pressure point on the glass arm, so you're then getting a headache potentially.
Yeah, I get a lot of people who like work in the mines and they have the helmets with the earmuffs built onto them. So you've got the added weight of the muffs plus the helmet,
Yeah,
and then glasses. So they get pressure on the sides and they get pressure coming from the top from the sheer weight.
yep. And they're not as effective with the class 5 rating if they've got the glasses going through the seal on the muff.
No, if the seal's broken, then you're not getting a class 5 protection.
For sure. The other thing that I find really, for me, and not everyone's going to be the same here, I see a lot of people using different hats, but I choose a wide brim hat to keep the sun off my nose and my neck and my ears. Some people will go with a simple cap with just a peak on it. Other people might have a soft hat that has a hole through the hat for the muffs to go through. But yeah, I prefer the option of having in-ear protection, glasses on, and a wide brim hat. And that, I think that's a smart choice, but not everyone will go with it. That for outdoor work like I'm doing, that seems to be one of the best options that I can pick out of there, which then brings me back full circle to the hearing protection that actually offers a decent level of hearing protection whilst wearing glasses and a hat.
Well, hearing loss is one of the biggest issues in industry. Um,
Yes.
you look at the payouts for it. They're, you can't get, even though they're reasonable, I can only lose your hearing once. And I can speak from experience having had a brain tumour. And once it's gone on that side or diminished, it makes it much harder.
Are you thinking of leaving your job to start a profitable and enjoyable lawn and garden business? Aussie Lawn Stars shares stories, lessons, and advice to help you grow a healthy, productive, efficient, and sustainable business. Got questions or want more information? Contact Aussie Lawn Stars at iCloud.com or reach out to Gary Ashton on Facebook or Messenger for personal help. But beware, your question may end up in a podcast episode. For business coaching that ensures the right mindset and decision-making approach, check out Think Tank Coaching. Their website is https://thinktankcoaching.com.au. They've been instrumental in helping me and can guide you towards achieving your business goals. You can also email them at thinktankcoaching@outlook.com. Need to set up best practices for bookkeeping, accounting, and business structure? Contact Adrian from Prosper Financial at 02 4977 3363. And don't forget to join Lawn Mowing Contractors Australia and Australian Professional Lawn Contractors Facebook groups. Great supportive communities focused on our industry. Reverse the clock a little bit here because we sort of jumped straight into talking about hearing protection. But yeah, if we talk about you for a minute. So you've had a brain tumor which resulted in hearing loss. That's pretty significant.
Yes, they took out 3.5 centimetres of nerve between the eardrum and the brain.
Yeah, okay. I can understand that would be quite disruptive to your hearing then.
Yeah, it was. It learned to walk, all those sorts of things. It's
Yeah.
it's one of those things that you don't notice it until it's gone.
Yeah.
But once it's gone, it's you really notice it because people call me and I don't know where it's coming from. You're overprotective of the other ear to make sure that you keep your hearing. So
Yeah.
that's how I got into what I'm doing because I did a lot of research looking for a decent hearing protection
Right.
to ride because I was riding motorbikes at the time to be able to put under my helmet that was comfortable, I could wear all day, and it would look after my ears or ear.
Yeah. Fair enough. So you want to make sure you can still use that one ear. Yeah. So At a guess, you're a couple of years older than me because I've just gone by the amount of grey hairs you got. I'm getting quite a few. but so you've been riding motorbikes for a while. Then you still ride?
No, not since I had an accident and my wife said no more. So,
Yeah, that's a tough one. I've seen it go both ways, where the partner says no more riding, and in my case, second marriage, I said to my wife, you know what, we got 4 kids between us. I need a motorbike.
uh, it was pain to give up, but you know, people drive pretty erratically.
Yeah, there are a lot of risks with riding motorbikes, and I think I'm in the age group now where I'm going. Dirt bikes have a certain risk that my older body is starting to feel. Road bikes have a definite risk, like you've been aware, and you know there's a lot of things that can go wrong very rapidly, and it's a lot of the time out of your control. So I'm looking at switching to something that's not good on the dirt and not good on the road. Just go make me go slower in general. I'm looking at an adventure bike.
There's a few out there. There's a lot of options these days.
There certainly is. I mean, we're spoilt for choice, but it's a that makes it harder to pick. So anyway, that's my card at the moment. I'm looking at adventure bike. It'll be a little bit easier on my body, more upright riding position, a little bit slower, so I'm not getting the attention of the police, and slower up the bush as well. So I won't be picking all the hard tracks. But I have been talking to you about the the idea of running intercoms in a motorbike helmet. So that's something I'm still working through at the moment in terms of having an intercom that offers in-ear hear connection as well as a level of hearing protection. And I think the ear molds are probably one of the options on the market at the moment that really do that well.
Yes, we have a number of options. You can go straight Bluetooth, straight to your phone. But if you've got an intercom unit, a Sena or one of the other brands, they usually have a 3.5 mil jack socket,
Yeah,
and we can put speakers into the molds, which then plug straight into the unit, and then you have the
yeah,
hearing protection, and you've got your sound.
yeah, for sure. So, what industry did you come from before you started working with ear molds? Before you started getting passionate about your hearing protection?
I've spent, what am I, 55, so I started in the army when I was 17, and then I've been in security and law enforcement roles pretty much ever since. So I do a lot of concerts, things like that.
Yeah,
Back in the day when there was no hearing protection, would have been nice to have what we've got these days. Um,
yeah,
so a lot of industrial noise, coin rolling machines in um,
yeah.
armored car businesses and things like that. So
Well, yeah, I can appreciate that. I think security and law enforcement is one of those things, particularly like you say, if you're doing security at a concert, um, you can't escape the volume there. I see a lot of cheap in-ear protection these days, which basically has either a silicon tree or a foam insert, but then it has a controlled entry to minimize the noise going through them. And they seem very popular for people who want to go to a concert, still hear the concert, but not end up with hearing damage.
yeah, most of them are throwaway. Um, you see a lot of them at concerts and stuff, and people will put them in. Or um, these days, people are a bit more concerned. They're wearing earmuffs for the concert, and then they just throw them at the end of the concert.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. So, when you decided to get passionate about looking after the hearing that you've still got left, did you look at a few different options? You said you researched it, so I'm guessing you looked at quite a number of options.
I did. I looked at a number of between make it yourself and earbuds and all sorts of things to go under a helmet which were comfortable, which weren't pushing against my head from the side of the helmet. Um,
Yep.
it was just a bit of a nightmare to try and find anything. And then I came across ear mold, and I went to a distributor and had a set done. and then as happens, after a year or two, I lost one,
Yeah,
and it just happened to be the one that I needed. So
the important one. Yep.
yeah, so I struggled to find someone to redo it, and
Right.
I contacted the company contacted me because my brother's a distributor in Sydney,
Ah,
and
okay.
they asked me if I was prepared to take it on, and I did.
Awesome. So I'm guessing that makes you the sole distributor in Newcastle area then.
There's two others
Oh, okay. Yep.
in this area.
Yeah.
They are
I
around.
yeah. I spoke to a couple of friends that ride motorbikes before I reached out to you, and I'm like, what options have you considered for hearing protection on your motorbike? And I think a lot of people like myself had looked at the $10, $15, $20 options that you can just buy, use them, and it's not a major loss if you lose them and replace them. But at least one friend has used ear molds as well as another brand of same sort of product, and he had a chat to me and he said the ear molds worked really well, and so he was quite happy with them. But there are a couple of brands around that do the same sort of thing. And one of the products I came across interesting is, I think it's like ear putty or something like that, where you literally put it over your ear. And then when you finish swimming, motorbike riding, whatever it is, you pull it back off, put it into a ball, and put it in its case again, ready for the next time you want to use it. And I looked at that and I thought, yeah, I looked at that and I thought that makes sense with, say, swimming in particular, because it covers your ear canal completely. Would supposedly give you a watertight seal. So if you're swimming, surfing, those sorts of things, it might make a lot of sense. But yeah, the ear molds and other products that are similar brand or similar but different brands, I think they, to me, they seem like they're a good choice for hearing protection long term because they are made to fit your ear and they hold the shape.
Yeah, they have a tissue to, well, they call it a tissue to tissue seal. So the mold that we use is the mold that fits your ear. It's not going to fit anyone else, and
Yeah.
so it will fit your ear perfectly. Although your ears grow over time, and you will have to get a new pair eventually, um, you know they perfectly fit your head, and yeah, either ear could be different, so you can't put them in the wrong ear either.
Yes, I've noticed that they definitely. I mean, not identical, but they look opposite to each other in the sense that one's clearly going to fit the left ear, one's clearly going to fit the right ear. But yeah, so you're saying left and right ear are never going to be identical anyway.
No.
Yeah, and I guess this going down this rabbit hole, this ear canal. The interesting thing I found when I came and visit you, and you made a setup for me so I can experience them and see what they're like before we did the interview. They go in your ear canal quite a bit deeper than your standard earbuds with your silicon trees or your foam inserts. So that would, in itself, the fact they go deeper in would give you better protection, right? Yeah. So they go further in, and like you say, they got that tissue to tissue contact. So they've got a full contact right the way around to seal them off well.
And they're not going to move as such.
That actually has bothered me the last month or so because I'm used to Bluetooth earbuds. I put them in my ear, I wiggle them around to make sure that the silicon is sealing reasonably well, and then I jump on my mower or I grab my hedge trimmer or my chainsaw or whatever it is, and I start working. Within about 2 minutes, I'm stopping and readjusting the earbuds so that they seal, and then keeping on going. And I'm fine if I raise my eyebrows or I wiggle my ears or I talk on the phone, for instance. Those sort of movements of my head continuously move the silicon earbuds. So the first time I put in the ear molds and went and did some work, I'm sitting there going, oh, I need to adjust them. I feel like I need to adjust them. And I'd go to adjust them. I'm like, why am I doing that? They're still sealing well. But I just constantly have this habitual thing where I go to my ear to adjust them as I'm working. And
Yeah,
it's taking
the
a while.
other molds like AirPods and that, because they sit in your ear, when you talk and do things and move, they will can work their way out. Whereas our molds sit perfectly in your ear. Even
Yeah.
our LabFlex molds for the AirPods and stuff like that, they still don't move. Even though they've got the new speaker in them, they are
Yeah.
designed to sit in your ear and give you a better hearing protection.
Yeah. So they still have that part that goes down the canal far enough to give you a good seal and they won't move around. Yeah. So in that sense, I've been frustrated getting used to it and adjusting to going, okay, I don't need to wiggle them around and move them every time I use them. Which I know I'll get used to, but initially, the habit of playing with the earbuds to seal them, it's hard to get rid of the habit, I guess. But the other thing I've noticed going from using the silicon trees is what my preference has been to using these. The silicon tree, after say a month or so, you notice a little bit of gunge build up on the silicon. You can fairly easily wipe it off, clean it up, put it in water and rinse it off or whatever to clean the bit of earwax or whatever else might be, a bit of dirt that finds its way in. What I've found with the ear molds is that I'm also needing to clean them quite regularly because they are such a good fit. So used them the first time, then I went to use them the next time and I was like, hang on, there's something irritating my ear. I was like, oh, of course there's going to be a bit of dirt, dust, something on there. So give them a quick rinse off with water and put them back in and perfect again.
Yeah, you can use a mild soapy water just to wash them off. Um, I
Yeah.
haven't seen anything that has ever stuck to them. So
Well, I've just used straight water to just rinse them off and it's fine. Yeah, like I say, things don't stick to them easily. I'm guessing earwax would be the enemy after a while, right? But even so, you can clean it off fairly easily.
yeah, it comes off pretty quick. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm doing molds and stuff, um, some people's ears just seem to attract wax and things, and some don't. Um,
Yes.
you know, they just wipe it off and start again, and it's pretty simple.
Yes, everyone's ear is different, as you say. So whether it's the shape of the ear or the amount of wax that they produce, whatever it is.
No, and the product holds its own. It's just easily cleanable.
Yeah, so I think part of that is that you put a sealant or a surface
Yeah,
finish
we
on
put a
them
coating
after.
on it, which, as you felt when I did yours, the initial insertion, that's a bit, even though I used the lubricant to ensure that it came out, it's still a bit tight. But the
Yes.
coating we put on it is not only coats the silicon, it's also a bit of a built-in lubricant, so they come in and out easier.
Yeah, certainly. It makes them quite easy to put in. I think that the first time you put them in, like after you've made the mold and then sealed it, first time I put them in myself, it's like, okay, it takes a little bit of effort just to work out how far they go. And then it's a fairly confident insert after that. You just go, okay, I know when it's in, I know it's in properly, and I shouldn't need to habitually play with them. But I still do. So yeah, that they are in my mind, they are the best hearing protection I have used in the last 15 years. And I've used some industrial hearing protection prior to working in this industry, but it's always been over ear muffs working indoors, where it was an over ear muff that was a class 5 and didn't need to worry about wearing a hat or sunglasses or anything like that. So it wasn't an issue at that point in time. But I guess, say I was using my wood chipper, that's probably one of the noisiest tools I use. If I go, all right, if I'm using the wood chipper for half an hour, I can forego the sun protection of the hat. I could go to a ear mold with a ear muff, and that would give me even more hearing protection.
It gives us a little more. I've had that. discussion with Defence and EMOL Australia. I spoke to them, and it does give a bit more hearing protection, but
Yeah.
overall, it's not a major increase because most of the job's being done by the ear mold itself.
Right. So one of the interesting things that comes up there, I know you mentioned defense, but if we're talking about various noises, like typically a noise is going to produce just a sound wave. Like you go to a concert and the sound wave is going to be rather hefty because you've got massive big speakers there moving that sound around. But if you go to an air show or you're at a firing range, then the sound wave also carries more than just the acoustics, right?
Yes, it, you've got the sound level. So when someone fires a firearm, it's a very quick and short percussive noise, whereas a
Right.
constant is continuous, and a jet, whilst you might hear it for a second before it comes, and then you hear it after it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, so by comparison, if you're running a whippersnipper or a lawnmower, you're going to have that constant drone of the engine. You're also going to have the high pitched sound of the blades or the whippersnipper cord whirring away.
Everything's
So
spinning.
it's so it's that probably the higher pitched acoustics that are actually more likely to do damage in my instance, rather than the explosive force of air moving when you're talking a gunshot or a jet aircraft in close proximity.
Yes. So it's different for everyone because some people won't let you. Some people will have a better hearing protection depending on how far you can obviously get an ear mold into their ear. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah.
that is part of it. Um, but in relation to the sound levels, these work. I think it's 4,000 hertz is where they give the best hearing protection.
4,000 hertz. Okay. So I'm just thinking about that. I'm not super familiar with where most of the noise levels come from. I have a feeling, is it human hearing goes up to about 8,000? Is that
Something like that. It's
right?
somewhere around that. At the concerts, you can feel it. Like you can, if you're close enough, even 50, 60 meters back, you can still feel the pumping out of the speakers.
And
Um,
that's often the bass frequencies. So the lower the hertz, where you'd
oh,
really
that's
feel it.
right. So this takes the ear molds take away the really harsh stuff. And in industry, you could be standing beside someone with a pair of ear molds in, and you can have a conversation, but it's still
Yes.
protecting your ears from the overall stuff that does the damage.
Yeah, and I've found that with a number of different hearing protection options. So, say for instance, if I got my motorbike helmet on and speakers in the helmet, I could wear a silicon piece in my ear and I can still hear the speakers in my helmet. It takes away the noise of the motor or the noise of the wind more than it takes away the voice in the speaker.
Yeah, the wind noise is probably the bit that causes the most damage on motorbikes.
Yeah.
Um, I get a lot of Harley riders who tell me they don't want to lose the sound of their motorbike. Well, you don't lose the sound of the motorbike, but you you do lose the wind noise and the damaging effects. And people don't a lot of the time understand that if you ride all day and you've got that wind noise, it tires you out. Whereas you can wear these and you can get off and you're nowhere near as tired after a day's riding.
Yeah, for sure. And I've noticed that with, I had a motorbike a few years ago now. The I don't know if you've seen some of the naked bikes that get around. They often have a shorter exhaust on them. So a naked bike, typically the exhaust will stop before the rear wheel. So it'll come from the front of the bike down under the engine and then has a muffler just in front of the rear wheel, which means it's fairly short exhaust. Well, the naked bike I had that, but it didn't have a catalytic converter and it didn't have any baffles in the muffler. And so people didn't like riding with me. And I'm like, what's the problem? And they're like, well, when you overtake and you can be 500 meters in front of us and we can't hear anything but your motorbike.
Well,
I was
no,
wearing
no
hearing
baffles has got to make it loud.
protection. Oh, yeah. It was obnoxiously loud, and I had to wear hearing protection to ride that bike. So even with hearing protection, after a couple of hours riding, it's like that's giving me a headache. Yeah, certainly, my observations with motorbike riding is that the wind noise, the motor can be obnoxiously loud, but the wind noise is often the biggest problem.
Especially if you've got a half face helmet.
Yeah, I don't have that experience because I don't ride Harleys.
A lot of people are going to the flip face helmets these days.
Yeah,
That flip over the back, and while they're around town, they ride with a half face helmet. But when they get on the road, they'll pull it over.
yeah, fair enough. It makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so they're quite common with probably the adventure touring bikes as much as anything. But yeah, you do see the odd cruiser running around with a helmet like that as well. Efficiency is the thing that rules a business and the decisions you make as a small business owner. Right Mowers give you the options in their product lineup to match efficiency with size, fuel usage, and the type of jobs you want to target, from catching to mulching or side discharge, from roadside verges to acreages, and manicured lawns to 6 feet tall and super long. I've been using the Right Stander I 42 inch with a Catch Pro for manicured areas and the Stander ZK61 to maximise productivity for large open acreage mowing. If you need to replace your push mower, try the 32 inch Stander B. If you have more open access to residential properties, there's a 42 through to 48 inch option that suits you. And if you want to enter the acreage market, the 52, 61 and 72 inch machines have choices in engine size and model type to suit the work you want it to do. Right Standards go the distance, saving you time and money season after season. What I'm hearing from you, the ear molds seem to be the number one way of giving hearing protection across the board, whether it's hobbies like motorbike riding, gun shooting, or whether it's your career where you need to wear it all the time while you're at work. For myself, but yeah, easiest option to give you a comfortable all day use and offer you decent hearing protection.
Oh, definitely. They're quick. They're simple to make for the customer, and they have a 2 to 5 year lifespan before they say you should replace them. So
Okay. Yep.
it's a pretty simple fix for a big issue.
Yeah. Yes. Now, when I came to visit you, it didn't take too long for you to manufacture these units and have them sealed, surface coating, and then ready for me to take away and use them. And yeah, I was quite impressed with it. It's fairly quick turnaround, fairly easy to learn how to use it and care for it. And so you're saying 2 to 5 years before you need to be looking at replacing them, and that's mostly because the shape of your ear will change over that time.
Your ear will change. Work health safety says they should be, if you're using them all day, every day, you should replace them probably every two. So in a lot of the industries that I work with, they replace them every 2 years.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And I think with most of the products I've used for hearing protection, 1 to 2 years is all I expect to get out of them. So if I can get 2 years out of these, then that's better than most products I've used. So I guess the other side of that is if you're using it in conjunction with a speaker built into it, like Bluetooth AirPods or whatever you might use for listening to audio while you're going, then the electronic device might fail before the actual ear mold fails.
They can be replaced if needed.
Yeah.
Um, I've had very few in my 8 years that I've ever had to replace.
Yeah.
Only be two or three,
There you
and
go.
sometimes it's a user error from trying to pull it out via the cord, or
Yeah.
occasionally you'll just have a wire break.
Yeah, I think the other thing there is if you're using them all day in an outdoor environment, the weather could end up being an issue. If you get a lot of rain, then water might penetrate the electronics sooner or later.
The only place that is the charging port, but that's pretty well protected. Uh,
Mm.
so they're pretty sturdy because the speakers themselves are actually inside the plug, the ear mold.
Yeah,
So they're
they're
pretty
well
well
protected.
protected from the environments themselves.
Yep.
Um, as I said, it's
So
only really the charging port that it is
yeah.
got any where it could get the water in.
So just to clarify, with this one you're talking about specifically, that is a Bluetooth unit that you
That's our
can
Bluetooth
provide.
range, yes.
Yeah, so you have your own Bluetooth range available, which is quite a handy one to be considering, and I think it's also secondarily provides the benefit that it keeps the two ear molds connected to each other, so you don't lose one easily. But if we talk about the other ones that are an option for you, is where you have the AirPods or various other Bluetooth earbuds that you can fit into a. I think you said you've got to
A
send it away
sleeve,
to get
yeah,
a
sleeve.
sleeve made up for them.
Yeah, so basically, it's the same process with me taking the mold. I have to go a little bit deeper in the ear when I take the mold. That's
Right.
because it gets sent to a lab and they do a 3D rendering of your ear, and then they make it so that the AirPods or whatever you're using fit into them. So you get the hearing protection, plus you can use your own earbuds, earpods, whatever you're using.
I think a lot of people would go for that because they have built up a preference over time for a particular brand or product that they find either comfortable or the controls are better, the sound quality is better. Everyone's got an opinion when it comes to sound quality with speakers. So I think a lot of people would go for that. But if they choose the option you've got with the Bluetooth unit you provide, that's going to provide pretty good quality because the speaker is inside the ear mold and sending sound very
Yeah,
directly to your.
the speaker is basically inside your ear. Um,
Yeah.
so you can. So what I did to the guys with the motorbikes, and they when they first put them in their ears, I tell them to turn it right down because it's like direct injection straight into your head. They're so used to
Yeah.
the noise from inside the helmet that
Yep.
if they have it up, it's just like blasting their brain.
Yeah, I can imagine. So that's a handy thing to have, I guess, as an option for particularly, like say, the motorbike riders. But I can imagine that's useful for anybody that needs hearing protection. In a previous life, I was learning to fly an ultralight, and with the ultralight, you would have the intercom on the ultralight, much like you have on a motorbike, but it's connecting up to a aircraft frequency radio.
Yeah, because we
And
do CEPs for pilots, so
yeah,
it's all the sort of the same thing.
yep. As long as you've got a speaker system in the ear mold that you then
Yeah,
have the
and the
right
right
connection.
connections.
Yep. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, okay. So I think we've covered a lot of what we needed to talk about with this, but just looking through the list of things we wanted to talk about, I think the replacement timeframes was one of those key things that we wanted to cover. I think when we're wrapping up, there's probably the things we want people to hear is that you're part of a network for the brand ear molds in Australia. So
Yeah, so
if
I'm a distributor for Earmold Australia. Earmold Australia has been in Australia since 1988,
yeah,
and they have distributors all over the country. So if you're
yeah,
looking for um, hearing protection, you just have to get onto the website and go to your state, and it will bring up all the distributors, and you can
yep,
just get in contact with one, and they'll book you in.
awesome. So can we touch on pricing, or is this something that's going to vary according to distributors across the
It will
country?
vary according to distributors, not a great deal. Um, you know, there's not a huge variation,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
there are things to take into account when that's all said and done. We get given a base price, and no one goes majorly over it, but
Yeah,
there is a slight variation between states and towns and things along those lines for
yeah, for
shipping
sure.
costs and things like that.
Yeah. So can we touch on like a price for a standard ear mold, roughly, like an approximation?
I sell a standard set for $130, and they come with a 2 year structural warranty. So if they
Yep.
crack or split or something along those lines, I mean, it's not something that you can just fix, so we just replace them.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess going from that standard price for that's without having any speakers or
Any
anything
speakers
like
or
that
anything along
included.
those lines.
Once you go to speakers in ear and Bluetooth units or a sleeve for your favorite AirPod brand, whatever it might be, then that's going to vary accordingly. So that yeah,
A wired set, they start at $285. And then our Bluetooth sets, they're, what did I have here? 355 they start at. Um,
yeah,
and they have an incredible battery life. Um, they have days of standby charge. So they
yeah.
just work and work.
That is awesome to know. I think in terms of comparing them with an inferior product in the sense that they're not offering quality hearing protection, certainly not class 5 hearing protection for most Bluetooth earbuds. Um, your pricing is going to be quite attractive for people that are looking for something that gives good hearing protection but still gives them the options of going, all right, do I want to connect Bluetooth or wired or various options so they can listen to their favorite Aussie All Stars podcast while they're going?
Yeah, they're, in the price range, they're pretty reasonable for any sort of hearing protection. Um, I get people come to me that have gone other places, and I look at what they've been told, and sometimes it shocks me for
Yeah,
something
I'm not
similar.
surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But if we're giving people the range of options to choose from at the moment, you can go cheap. You can go for disposable foam inserts, which will be adequate, but not my first choice. I don't like them. You go for the
Not for
silicon tree
permanent use.
inserts. Yeah, the silicon tree inserts. I'm like, okay, I can use them, but again, not going to choose them. I usually will choose something that's got an option to play audio, so I can listen to podcasts and music and whatever while I'm going. And that's where I've found looking for something like your product, because most speaker options that go in your ear or over ear muffs just they fail for me in the work environment every time. They're not adequate in some way. So yeah, I have had a good run with the trial set you've made for me, and going, okay, that's great. Now I just need something with speakers in it so that I can continue using them and have awesome hearing protection while I'm working all the time.
Well, as I said, you've got your choice of either the Bluetooth, or you can go with a LabFlex sleeve, and you
Yeah,
can use your AirPod Pros, or Google earbuds, or whatever the case may be, and you still get a hearing protection. You're just able to use your own equipment of your preference.
yeah. I must say I'm really torn on this, Anthony, because there's so many choices. But the thing that I'm torn between is going, can I have one set that does everything, i.e., work, fun, motorbike riding, and as a general use product that has my Bluetooth in it all the time, or not just Bluetooth, but I can disconnect a Bluetooth unit and plug it straight into the motorbike intercom. So yeah, I'm a little bit torn as to which way to go on that. But one thing I do know for certain is the in-ear hearing protection is really important. I need to look after my hearing, and whilst yes, there are other options outside of ear molds are looking like the best choice for me at this point in time.
Yeah, there are a lot of options. Our products are rated to 2 meters underwater, so that's why we get a lot of swimmers, get a lot of
Yep.
kids. for that reason. So it's hard to find hearing protection that's actually rated for certain things.
Yeah.
Where Ear Mold Australia has done all the testing and had all that done. So, and it's on our website. The testing of the subjects that did it for us, and the swimming and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. I guess out of curiosity, but just wrapping things up at the moment, I have no idea, but do people use any sort of in-ear insert type product for diving? So if they're free diving or scuba diving?
there is. We don't. It's not something that we do. As I said, ours are rated to 2 meters underwater. So
Yeah.
basically, for swimming and things along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Over 2 meters, they start to get the pressure and build up in
That's
the
what I
ear.
was wondering, because I've found snorkeling, and I've been scuba diving once, but snorkeling, if you go down below 2 meters, you very quickly start to notice pressure on your ears, and you need to learn how to balance your ear pressure if you're going to go more than snorkeling. If you're going to go scuba diving or free diving, you need to be able to deal with that. So I wasn't sure whether there would be a product that you put in your ears that helps with that, or just keeps the water out but still allows you to keep your air pressure balanced.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
see a lot of. I find it funny that a lot of surgeons still tell parents to put blue tack in their kids' ears when they've had grommets. It's like,
Yeah. I can imagine the things that could go wrong.
oh yeah, anything is probably a bit more hygienic than continually using the one piece of blue tack and sticking it in your ear.
Yeah, but also, what if you have a small piece of blue tack that gets lodged in your ear and you can't get it
Dislodges.
back out? Yeah,
I have one client who was a drummer for a major Australian band, and
yeah,
I always thought he was deaf, but it turned out he used to use a ball of wax, and it was the same ball of wax that he used for like 15 years, and it
wow,
was quite filthy. And I said to him, I'll just make you a set. And he
yeah,
was quite surprised at the difference between just a ball of wax and medical grade silicon, and the differences it did.
yeah, yeah, it make a massive difference. So yeah, I guess the number of cheap options people can choose have those risks associated with them, right?
Oh, definitely. There are some things that when it comes to cleaning the ears, they say the smallest thing you should put in your ear is your elbow. But then you go sticking blue tack and wax and a whole heap of other things in your ears.
Yeah,
Realistically, probably shouldn't be there.
yeah, I've heard all sorts of horror stories about people cleaning ears with cotton buds and having issues with doing that.
A lot of surfers, they get coral ear and things like that.
Yeah,
So if you're going to use them, you want something that's going to actually do what it says it's going to do.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, Tony, it's been good to have a chat with you. Get this out there for people to start thinking about. I've covered a lot of topics on this podcast, and I thought hearing protection is one of those things where people in my industry need to be thinking about it. And once I saw your name pop up on Facebook, I was like, yep, this is something which gives people probably the best solution for industrial hearing protection, while they need to be considering things like wearing glasses and hats and other, eye protection, sun protection, all those things at once.
For glasses, it's wearing glasses. It's much more comfortable to have something in my ears rather than over them and pushing against the side of my head.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of in-ear options that offer the quality, the Class 5 hearing protection.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawn Stars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.